Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Pelican, built tough for all situations. Go to pelican.com. Yak Gadget, for all your fine kayak fishing accessory needs. Go to yakgadget.com. Eastport Marina, on the beautiful shores of Dale Hollow Lake, for all your lodging, kayaking, and fishing needs. Go to eastport.info. Now let's get this show started.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Bass Fishing for Noobs here on the Paddle and Fin Podcast. I am your host, Sean Lavery, and I'd like to thank you all for joining me this evening. Tonight is Sunday night. It's been about a week removed since all of us PNF guys were down, or most of us Paddle and Fin guys were down in Dale Hollow. I got to meet a bunch of you guys. That was awesome. Just a beautiful weekend down there. We'll talk a little bit more about that with tonight's guest. But I just wanted to, say welcome back. It's good to be back in front of the microphone. It was a nice little vacation there. I kind of recorded pretty early before we left, so I had a lot of time kind of off here as a nice little break, and it was awesome to get to go and fish someplace I don't get to fish very often and spend most of the weekend fishing. So definitely a nice little getaway there, some time off work, and just enjoyed myself a lot. Definitely getting to hang with all of my Paddle and Fin family. It was great to, get to meet a few new people. I hadn't met either of the Brads, and both Brad Hurlboss and Brad from the Final Cast were down there. So I got to meet them. As well as Susie. I hadn't met Susie yet in person, so it was awesome to get to meet her. But in the meantime, one of the other people that I got to meet down there was tonight's guest. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Jeff Hepp to the Bass Fishing for Noobs show. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. I appreciate it. I got to introduce to Jeff down at Dale Hollow. He was kind of our chaplain, if you will. So he was actually staying in the house or in the cabins with the rest of the Paddle and Fin family. So I got to spend a good bit of time and had some nice conversations with Jeff, as well as got to see him out on the water a little bit as well. But Jeff, I know this isn't your first time on Paddle and Fin, but I think it's probably your first time on Bass Fishing for Noobs. So wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself, where you're from, and kind of how you got into fishing.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Jeff Hepp. I'm from Central Ohio. On Instagram, I go by @FishThe50, and that's because I'm a veteran on a mission to catch a fish in every state. Just hit 31, hit North Carolina here a few weeks ago, and that was number 31 for me. So, yeah, I've just been got into fishing really when I was deployed. Didn't grow up fishing, and then had a pretty rough time on my deployment. Was pretty depressed and suicidal, and picked up a fishing rod with some of the guys, and that was a help for me at the time, along with a lot of other people in my life. So started doing that when I came back from my deployment, and it's been just ever since, man. I just been learning more and more. So having fun. Then last year I got hooked up with the Paddle and Fin crew, and I said, hey, I just want to be a help and serve the Paddle and Fin crew and try to keep them on the straight and narrow, but
that is a tough job at times, I'm sure.
It's not really. I mean, they're good people, really good people. So yeah, so we got to do second weekend down there at Dale Hollow at Eastport, at the farm and all that. Just another awesome event. So I can't say enough about the crew and the people that work down there, and the food we had in Tennessee. So yeah, all good stuff. So
definitely was a good time. What was your highlight of the week down there, or the weekend, I guess I should say?
That omelet was life changing for me. That was the best omelet I've ever eaten in my life. So
we on I guess Sunday morning we decided to we got on the water a little bit late because we decided to stop at this hole in the wall.
Wait. That crew is never on time. Let's just
that's true. That's true. Yeah, we definitely aren't the prototypical fishermen where you're out at the crack of dawn on the water as soon as the sun hits the water. It's there were a couple of later mornings, much to Shane's lament. I think he was the only one of us that was actually fishing the tournament, and he actually decided to go with us on Sunday. And I think we got on the water at like 10:30.
Yeah.
But part of that was because we stopped at this crazy little breakfast spot. It was about, it was a tiny house, and the gentleman was there. Him and his wife usually his wife usually cooks, I guess, but she was out of town, and so he was cooking. And I'm sure we, panicked the heck out of him when we pulled up. 9 people bailed out of trucks and basically filled up the whole front of his establishment. He was probably thinking, "Oh my goodness," the wife probably said, "Hey, don't worry, it'll be a slow Sunday morning." And then we pulled in and totally threw that out the window. So, but oh my goodness, his menu was amazing. He had about 12 different kinds of cheese or something like that. And hopefully Jimmy, maybe JP will talk about that on his Off the Water sometime. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. Yep.
Because the food was amazing. It took a while. Like I said, we didn't get out on the water really quick because he could basically make two or three meals at a time. And we had 9 people there, I think. So we definitely challenged his production a little bit, but it was delicious, to say the least. So.
Yep.
How about fishing wise? How did you do down on Dale Hollow?
So I got down there kind of midday on Friday, and I don't know, there's that one highway that's coming across, and you cross right over the creek right there, and you can see down in. And so last year I crossed over there, and I'm like, on the way out, I'm going to fish that creek. And so I did last year. I had some night crawlers left over or whatever, and I stopped in there and threw a Ned rig and night crawlers, and I caught like 3 or 4 smallmouth. I'm like, on the way in, I was ready this year, so I went in, and I don't know, the water looked great, even cleaner than last year. And I could not find a smallmouth for nothing. Maybe they had already moved out. I did catch some little chub or shiner or something. I don't know what it was. But then I got on the water. Well, and then I think that was the first time I met you on Friday afternoon. Went out, and like I said, water was a lot cleaner than last year, and a lot lower too. And so I ended up throwing that afternoon. I threw a paddle tail swim bait, I believe, and I had to. I mean, it was basically like reeling so slow. I was barely moving that thing, and I finally got a bite. So I did catch one largemouth then. And then Saturday, I wasn't sure if the guys needed me to work or help with the tournament or anything. I was going to maybe get in the tournament, but Brian and JP asked me to help go up to one of the ramps and check people in. So I got up at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I was up there and checking people in. And then after that, JP and I got on the water finally. And then he put a hook right up into his thumb, up under the thumbnail, and right between the bone and the thumbnail, and we could not get it out. And so we ended up running somewhere to have somebody take it out. And then we did get back on the water, and then that's when I caught up to you again, and you were just, let's see, I think I caught 2 small bass, 12, 13 inchers. Again, real slow Ned rig, and I think I did catch one on a rattle trap, but then so congrats, you caught your PB on Saturday, right? And
Yep.
JP was there, I saw JP got a good picture of you, so great picture of that catch. And so it was I think if I had haven't been there twice now, and I know a little bit about it, I probably could have caught, I caught 2 in half a day. Maybe I could have done well in the tournament, but I'm willing to fish slow if I have to. I'll just, if I get bored, I'll just throw a Ned rig off the back and just drift down the river.
Right.
Other people got to work really hard, and I don't like to work hard. So that's the one I was just dragging a Ned rig in the wind, and got one to bite finally. So it was a little slow. I mean, the water was still pretty chilly, but they were starting to move. Just go back down here in the next couple of weeks. Of course, now next year they moved it up a couple of weeks, right? So it'll be towards the end of April. So man, ought to be a pretty good time down there.
Yeah, we actually, while we were down there, we decided to set the date for next year's Dale Hollow trip about 2 weeks later. I think it's like the 22nd, 23rd of April. So by that time, I think it's going to be on fire. I think it was just starting to get there. It was tough fishing. I did like Jeff said, I did manage to luck into one big one. I caught a 20 and a quarter largemouth on a LV 500 lipless crank. And JP happened to be right there. I was so happy that I landed it too, because I flew down to Dale Hollow, so I had none of my own equipment. I was paddling a new to me kayak. I was pedaling an Old Town 120. Didn't necessarily like it compared to my Hobie, but I had all sorts of I had basically 4 rods that none of which I had ever thrown before, so was still just getting used to throwing those. I think on Friday I caught 4, with the largest one being like 15 inches, mostly smaller, and then I caught on Saturday I caught 4 with the 20-inch being by far the biggest, and then everything else wasn't even measurable. So I think for the tournament, if I had entered, I would have won big fish that day, but I would have had 1 fish on the board at the end of that day. And then Sunday was just not my day. I skunked fishing, and then I also lost one of Brian's rods over the side of the kayak. So I felt totally awful about that. I was trying to keep his rods really safe, and the 2 days before I had tethered them to my kayak with my Never Lost tethers, and I got a little cocky on Sunday, and it totally burned me. I still am not sure 100% how I did it, but ended up kicking one of Brian's rods off. I've since worked on replacing that. He should have a new reel here at his house within the next 2 days, I think. So definitely paid him back for that. But yeah, Sunday wasn't my day. I'm kind of glad I didn't fish the tournament then. But I think, pretty much most of the paddle and fin crew struggled on Sunday. Shane's wife, who was a noob herself. This was her first tournament, and we were giving Shane from Bass Thumb's podcast on the paddle and fin crew a bunch of crap, saying that she was going to beat him in the tournament. And lo and behold, she actually did. And it was a total shocker, because just all of us really kind of struggled on Sunday. It was definitely a hard day of fishing, but still fun nonetheless. A beautiful area. And happy again to get to meet you and a bunch of other John Rapp. I got to meet him. He's a character in himself, and a bunch of the other listeners. So,
well, last year I was on what I called it the John boat. John Rapp, John Graves, and John Gillespie. I think he goes by Jack, but to keep them straight, that was a little bit of a trip, man. That group. Good people though, man. I mean, Rapp had me on the Rusty Hook podcast, I think he calls it, and it was great to see him, and he did well this year. In fact, the one fish I caught on the rattle trap, another big fish come in and followed it in, and he was fishing thurman. I was trying to stay out of his way, so I was up on the opposite side. But so he was like, well, there's big fish there, so I think he went back there the next day and caught a big fish. So there were bigger fish there, kind of sparse, but yeah. So yeah, what a crew.
I got to see my good friend Ryan, who used to co-host this podcast with me. He stopped in, and I was able to hang out with him for a little bit. And I know one of the days he had just picked up his new canoe and was trying it out, and he caught quite a few right off in 2 hours. He had 5 half decent fish on the tube right around the corner from where I was catching some of mine. So congrats to him, and it was definitely good to see him too. So, and I got to meet John Graves. He has like his signature cowboy hat, and I was like, who's that guy fishing in a cowboy hat? I'm like, oh, that's John Graves. So it was cool to meet him too. Definitely a lot of characters to get to meet and interact with. So Now, did Tennessee count as one of your states in your thing, or had you already?
So Tennessee was like early in my fish to 50. Of course, I got married in Tennessee, Gatlinburg area, and all that. But I went on a family trip with just my wife and kids and another couple and kids, and we went down, rented a cabin, and I caught fish down there, just bluegills off the dock or whatever. But that was like state number 4 or 5
Okay.
or something. I mean, that was a while ago. I think that might have been even before I had the idea. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
been a while. But one of my favorite Tennessee fish is, if you know the restaurant, if you've been to Pigeon Forge and you've been to the Old Mill restaurant, a lot of people know that. But I caught a smallmouth right there underneath the mill one time while we were waiting to get in for breakfast, and I was like, yes, that's my favorite Tennessee fish so far. So
Okay. Cool. And as far as what gave you the idea to start that, and when, like, how many states had you had under your belt by the time you started counting?
well, and that's what made it easy. I started fishing seriously, of course, after I got back from my deployment, and then I got a camper. Anyway, I started fishing seriously with my father-in-law, and we went up into Canada a couple times. But then he invited me to go muskie fishing on Cave Run Lake in Kentucky, and it was him and my daughter and myself, and we all caught muskies one day. So it was like a 3-generation day, which was a great day. Like nothing huge or anything, but great day. And then I was like, that's the 5th state that I've caught a fish. And then after five, 5 out of 50s, that's 10%. So
Right.
I'm like, well, that's easy math. And after after I had that thought, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So I'm like, I'm just going to catch a fish in every state, because that was post deployment and post army, and I'm like, I'm just going to go off and enjoy this thing. So I didn't really know a whole lot about fishing then, and so yeah, that was kind of what gave me the idea, and I just started going from there. Yeah.
Okay. And out of all the fish that you've caught, now muskie is still on my bucket list, so that's awesome that you crossed that off. But what are some other memorable catches from that adventure so far?
So when I got back from the deployment, I caught a 50-inch wahoo off of the coast of Cape Canaveral in Florida. And that was one, it was a fun catch because they're just built for speed. 2, it was absolutely delicious. That's like some of the best fish I've ever eaten in my life. And so that was kind of part of the start of me fishing before I got the idea to fish the 50. Some other memorable catches. I caught lake trout out in Lake Tahoe. Not huge, but they were like 400 feet deep. And so we had like 500 feet of line out and going across the bottom, and just real tough to detect the bite. And
I'm sure.
So that was a very interesting experience. And Tahoe is beautiful. Some other memorable fish. The first time I went to Minnesota, I went to the Boundary Waters canoe area, which is paddle only in most of it, and didn't take kayaks, but we took rented a canoe, Kevlar, I want to say, and so it was pretty lightweight. But on my way in, we found a spot that I had kind of knew, like from the maps and stuff, that I'd studied the route and planned the route. I knew I was going to stop there and fish for pike because of the narrows, and caught my personal best pike on the way in, first fish of the trip. And on the way out, I caught my personal best walleye. So, which is like a 27. I mean, to me, my personal bests aren't as big as a lot of other people's, but whatever. Like at the time, it was pretty awesome, and to have a walleye hit a big, it's actually a gliding wrap is a big pike or musky bait, so to have a walleye hit that, man, that was a little bit of a surprise. So yeah, those are pretty memorable fish. Let me think what else has been kind of cool. Well, I mean, yeah,
it sounds like a pretty impressive variety anyway. I mean, I have yet to catch a pike. I have yet to catch a muskie. and I have caught a walleye, but nothing crazy. I think probably 18 inches is my biggest walleye. So you definitely sound like you're getting not only a good list and knocking off a bunch of states, but also a bunch of different species while you're at it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. We can talk about that later. That's part of yeah. So.
Well, that could be a whole nother, how many different species can I catch, really? I mean, that could be a whole nother rabbit hole to go down for sure.
Yep.
As far as I know, I mentioned, I think when we were talking before, I asked if you had states where you went to fish and missed it, and we'll have to go back to that,
Yep. So the one that's happened to me twice. The one was Arizona, and the water was very low. It was a drought year, and all the lakes out there. And I wasn't really on a fishing trip. I was on a trip with my dad on Route 66, which is Chicago to LA, the old historic Route 66, which he's always wanted to do. And the day he retired, we left his office and drove Route 66 and then flew home. But so I was like, well, I was already fishing, so I'm like, I'm going to hit some states. And it was very early in my mission there, so I didn't really understand stuff very well, and I'm just going to stop at whatever lake is closest to the highway. And I did that, and the water was too low. It was the wrong time of day. I wasn't really prepared, didn't have any, so it was a complete bust, and I only had like 2 hours to fish, and it was just a waste. It was just a waste of time. And no, I really enjoyed that trip. I didn't care. But I had to go back to Arizona. Right? So my daughter, she's into like geology and rocks and stuff. She wants to be a volcanologist. She's at Ohio State doing the science thing, but she's studying the ice cores and all this. But anyway, we went out west 2 years ago during COVID, and I had planned a trip, and I just booked a day with top-notch guide and fished under the Glen Canyon Dam, I think, where the horseshoe is, and fishing for rainbow trout out there, and just drift after drift after drift of rainbow trout, man. And just it was a completely wild experience, because it was just so much line out on a fly rod, and I'm not a fly rod guy anyway. It was really tough to get the bite, but I caught a dozen or something, and what a beautiful location, So what I've learned from the first time I fished Arizona to the second time was just to, like, whenever I go to a state now, I want that experience of that state. Like, I want to know, what's Arizona all about? What's Wyoming all about? What's this state all about? So, and I know there's different fisheries in every state, but I just want to kind of get into a thing that's new for me and kind of represents that area, or something I can't get in Ohio, because Ohio fishing, there's some good fishing here, but not too close to me. I'm kind of in this isolated area. I can't even put in a motorboat in my county. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that was one place I blanked. The other one I blanked is in New Jersey. Again, it's like I travel and I just always take a fishing rod. So we went to New Jersey, and we were on a history club trip for my daughter. She competed in the history thing, and so we were going to the Statue of Liberty. I'm like, well, I'm going to catch a fish right here by the Statue of Liberty. So I've fished from the Jersey side and got some cut bait and put it out there, and I couldn't get anything to bite. But again, I was only there for 2 hours. I'd never been there before, and I didn't give it enough time,
Right.
So, so I'm going to redo that one. And right now, I work for the National Park Service, and I have like 6 projects at the Statue of Liberty right now.
Oh,
and
wow.
Eventually, someday, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to catch a giant striper right in front of the statue. I will not. And if it's too small, I'll hand the rod off, because I just don't want it. So I'm getting a little pickier in my old age here, but yeah, I'm having a good time. So
awesome.
Yep.
And I know, obviously, your skills have changed since you started from to where you are now. So, what kind of ways have you adapted, or what have you found that works in these new locations? When you're going to a state for the first time and you've never fished there before. What's like your go-to? Or I know you mentioned live bait a couple times, or cut bait. Is that generally where you start, or
Nope.
nope?
Nope. Live bait, like if you don't know a fishery doesn't cover any water, right? So if you're someplace and you don't have a boat or whatever, live bait is, I mean, you can go catch bluegill. I mean, if you want,
Right.
and I
Right.
have before, right? That's what I did in North Dakota, I want to say. But you know what I take now? You guys are gonna laugh at. You know, I have this box that I call my smalls box, right? And it's got like half a dozen rooster tails. It's got a little Ned rig. It's got a little silver flashy thing. It's just got a little jig head or maybe a little underspin, a grub tail, and Rapala, little minnow baits. And if I'm or a little popper, like a hula popper,
Okay.
if you're wanting to fish, and this will work for bass too, but if you just want to go out and catch a fish, man, just throw a rooster tail, right? And just throw a rooster tail. They cast well, especially if you get one of the heavier ones, right?
Yep.
Or any inline spinner that's heavy and you can cast it a mile. You can retrieve it real slow and get some flash, and it's got a small hook on it, so a bunch of different species can bite it, right?
Yep.
So rooster tail saved my bacon on my first fish in West Virginia. If I go to a rooster tail saved my bacon in that river in Tennessee that I didn't catch my smallmouth. So that, give them something they can bite, and give them something you can vary the retrieve, because you can fish a rooster tail as high or as low as you want because of the weight, and you can fish it fast or slow. So,
Yep. No, anybody who listens to this show has heard me preach about rooster tails before. I know, like you said, some people,
you're a rooster tail guy, huh? Okay.
Absolutely. Some people,
I don't feel the shame I thought I was about to.
No way. That was my first confidence bait on the river, and I struggled on the river for the longest time, and I finally ran into a guy I had just skunked for the day, and as I was getting off the water, I was like, "How'd you do?" He's like, "Oh, I caught 20." I'm like, 20? I was like, "What the heck were you throwing?" He's like, "Oh," and he showed me. It's just a little silver and white rooster tail. He's like, 8-ounce silver and white rooster tail. He's like, "I guarantee you, if you throw that the next time you go, you'll catch fish." So I went, stopped off at Dick's, and I bought one of those, and I bought a chartreuse one. I think I tied the chartreuse one on first, and with a copper or brass blade or copper blade, and the next time out, I caught like 10 fish. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm never putting this down again."
Right.
Right. It really does catch all sizes. I've caught like 19-inch smallmouth on that little.
Yep.
I've caught catfish.
Yep.
They mangle that poor little blade or hook, but
yep.
And everything in between, from little bluegills and sunfish and stuff. So it really is. If you just want something to catch fish, I think you can't really go wrong with that. And for anybody who gives it crap, I gotta laugh at them because I'm like, hey, catching fish is catching fish to me.
Yep.
So not to say I haven't, moved up from there, but it definitely. I still almost always have one in my river box that if it's tough, I'll definitely go back to that because, like you said, you can cover water, you can cover different parts of the water column, and there's days where that's just all they'll eat. So,
yep.
Cool. And anything else? So you bring that. What kind of rod do you bring with you? Is it like one of those telescoping rods that you can kind of keep in your car?
I have a travel rod. I have a 4-piece Ugly Sticks travel rod, and that thing's pretty indestructible. And that's kind of my last resort.
Okay.
Because it just doesn't cast as well and not as much sensitivity.
Right.
So, I mean, typically, I have a rod. It's Enigma that I got at one of the shows I was working or something, and it's a 7-foot medium fast, I think. And I do a lot of stuff with that. I put fluorocarbon on it and just throw whatever. And so yeah, I go to the river. I can catch trout on that. Uh, Smallmouth for tubes, or it's pretty like, because I fish a lot of things, I just buy equipment that I can use in a lot of places, and it's maybe not the best combo for that application that I'm doing, but it's a good combo for a lot of things.
It's
So
universal enough that
yeah,
you can put different things on it. So
right. And that's what I've just found to do, and that works for me because of what my goals are and what I want to do in life. If I was maybe more competitive or focusing on a particular thing, I might change up the way I buy rods and reels or something. But for me right now, I just look for stuff I can do more than one thing with. Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
How many places do you lug your kayak to when you're going, or do you mostly fish from the shore, or when you're fishing?
So it kind of depends. Like I'll rent a boat or a guide or take the kayak or I don't know. I have a float tube. I mean, I got a bunch of stuff that I've tried before, and it's fun. And but yeah, I got a cheaper kayak, or more of an entry level fishing kayak, but it's the Pelican PWR 100, and well, you saw me.
Yep.
And it's short, right? So it's under 10 feet, but it's wide. So I'm not too big of a guy. I'm 5'7", 200 pounds. And so it floats with me on it just fine, but it's got that swivel seat, man. And I just, I'm not getting any younger. So my back and my knees and everything is just thank me for this seat that I've purchased, but it's very, very comfortable. But I have a short bed pickup. So with the tailgate down and that thing slid in there, I don't need anything additional to carry it. So I can take the kayak with no trailer, no rack sticking out the back, nothing like that. And then I got that motor that goes on, and it's just remote control trolling motor. So I mean that's pretty flexible and portable for me, and I can do that by myself or throw it in the truck and still have room for my wife or my boy or whatever. So yeah, that's been working out for me. I mean, I can see the advantages to a different kayak or a trailer or even a boat, but it's not what I want to do right now. So
It looked like a pretty comfortable setup when I saw you cruising down the river. You definitely can cover water, and
it's a
sure.
very comfortable, well thought out, well laid out little boat. And for me, like if I was going to go all in on kayak bass fishing and that was all I was going to do, I could see getting like the Hobie or something like that, But I mean, for me and my budget and how often I'm going to fish out of a kayak, it's exactly what I needed. So I'm really happy with it. It's a big upgrade over what I had before, which is just a little sit-in deal. So yeah, I'm loving that. And my
Awesome.
father-in-law's got a couple boats, and if I ever need a boat for something, we take those. So
nice. So you you can cover all different kinds of fishing as well. So you got a bunch of options as well. So
yep.
All right, cool. So what states are you looking to knock off next on your list? Do you have any planned outings?
Next is for my birthday trip. I'm going to Clear Lake, Iowa for muskie again.
Nice.
So that's in the middle of May. And I fished with this guide before, and muskie fishing can be pretty hit or miss, So we fished for 2 days hard with this guy last time up in Minnesota. And I did catch my first Minnesota fish with him, which is a pike. I thought it was a monster because I foul hooked and come in sideways. I thought it was a giant, but it was not. It was just a pesky pike. But we raised a number of fish, and I had a giant follow my topwater bait in, and I just got too close to the boat, and it saw the boat and spooked, and so I didn't connect. But he's hands down the best guide I've ever fished with, even though I didn't catch a muskie with him, just because he knows his business so well. So we're going back up to fish with him on a different lake. Smaller fish, but there's more of them, I believe. So pretty good chance for me and my buddy. I really, really want him to get a muskie, so like I'm going to put him in the front of the boat and have him go all out on it. So yeah, that's the next trip.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say I hope to hit Illinois on the way back through. We're going to stop. We're going to take the kayaks and his camper. So we're going to camp up in Iowa for a couple of days and then come back down through Illinois to Ohio. And so we'll hit Illinois and stay there a couple of days and catch some fish. So there's a lot of paddle and fin knowledge sharing about to happen. I'm hoping for some of those Illinois fish. So
depending which part you are, I mean, I'd pay Brian a visit and fish on his home waters, because from what I understand, the one right by his house is
well, the place we're at going is called Banner Marsh, I think it's called, and it's kind of like
that's Susie's favorite place, I think.
Yeah, right? I saw her catching some bass there. JP said it was a good spot, and it's like basically right on our route. So yeah, sometimes you got to think about, like, I'm not independently wealthy, so I got to pay for gas yet. So.
Oh yeah. One thing I was glad not to drive to Dale Hollow, because I was like, I would have paid more in gas than I did in airline tickets, to be honest. So,
yep.
So yeah, I can definitely see where planning that would be a definitely an aspect that you have to plan for when you're traveling like that. So to limit your out of the way spots as much as possible, because.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
awesome.
I've just got to the point where if I'm not given a place 2 days to fish it, I'm probably not going to bother. You know, like if I don't have 2 days, then I'm not giving it the time it deserves, and I'm probably going to feel rushed. And
right.
So I've really changed my mentality on that. Like we could go up and hit Wisconsin. I could drive across the border from Clear Lake and hit the river or something. I got 10 minutes to fish. I'm like, that's going to be dumb. I'll do it on my next trip when I got the time to devote to it. So
right. That was going to be one of my questions, was what's your timetable? Or it'd probably be best not to have a timetable and not to force yourself to say, I want to have this done by this certain time, because then you will do that's exactly what I would do. I would rush and I would try and take shortcuts and definitely take some of the enjoyment out of the process, I think.
Yeah, I really, so I won't be the first one to catch a fish in every state. There's not many, but there are a few out there, and there's another page, a guy named Fishing the 50, and he's been following me. I've been following him. I think it took him like 8 years, and I thought, well, I want to beat him, and I'm like, no. I mean, I just don't, like, as you go through the journey, you're just kind of like, I'm loving it. Like, why should I be in a rush? Or why do I need to beat anybody? Or why does my walk need to be the same as somebody else's walk? It's my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
well, like you were saying, when you went to Arizona and you did that, fishing for trout on a fly rod, and like those kind of experiences, I feel like you wouldn't get, or they'd at least be cheapened by trying to rush through or to hit some arbitrary date that, you feel like you have to set for yourself. So I definitely think you're going about it the right way. And, there's so many experiences and so many awesome people that you can meet along the way on an adventure like that. And I feel like to take your time and do it right, it's going to be that much more memorable for doing that than if you just punched a ticket and clicked them off one at a time. So
absolutely.
And plus, I mean, we talked a little bit about our faith and kind of what our faith journeys look like, and how every person kind of gets their testimony. And I feel like when you do those kind of trips, it opens you to the ability to share that with people. You never know when you're going to sit down with someone and have a conversation over a meal or something, that you'll be able to witness to them and, bring up your testimony and how, it's affected you and changed your life. So, I mean, that in itself is a gift, I think.
I mean, it's amazing, man. I mean, I really, once I rededicated my life to Christ after everything I went through in Kuwait, and being able to maybe help somebody else, somebody help me, right? So if I can help somebody else, I'm all about it. And I'm just much more at peace about everything. Like I'm walking my walk, and if I can go and hang out with the paddle and fin guys and somebody needs to talk, or like JP gets a hook in his thumb, he's like, I'm so glad you were here. I'm like God put me exactly right there where I needed to be, right? I mean, that crew never has much of a plan, so I didn't know where I was going to be. So like, it just worked out. Like, that's why I was there. Right. I mean, and he's a tough guy, but it was a pretty nasty hook. And I'm like, if I can just be with this guy to keep him calm, and, if he was out there by himself and panicked, or, I was able to, at least what I was able to do is get the bait off of the rod. Right. Because a 7-foot rod hanging out there jiggling the whole thing. Like, man, somebody gets in a panic mode or does something awkward and falls out and got a hook in them, get wrapped up in their line, So, I mean, I'm happy to be where God puts me. You know what I mean? So, and anybody that ever needs to talk, they can find me, So, yeah.
I know you're definitely right. The PNF family is great, but we're not always the most organized or the most well thought out, best laid plans.
I wouldn't have it any other way, man. I wouldn't have it any other way.
So we definitely need people like you to kind of tag along and keep us from save ourselves from ourselves, pretty much, or
Yeah, but they put their heart and soul into putting on a
absolutely
good event. You know what I mean? I mean, and that's why I kept coming back with those guys. Like, what good people, I mean, the whole thing is just, it's just a very enjoyable event, So it's.
And I feel like every year we're we take what we learn year in, year out, and we make adjustments for the following year. We keep growing every year, we've had plenty of compliments. We've had our criticisms as well, but like you said, we take that to heart, and we always try and continue to improve. And I think we're to the point now where we're putting on a pretty good tournament, and people are enjoying themselves. And we like to say that it's not just about the competition. If that's all it is for you, that's great. We have it. But if you're want camaraderie and you want that other aspect of it too, we're all about that as well. And I think that really comes through in some of the things that you hear people say about our events and stuff. So
yep. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, have you had any influence with like I do a lot of work with Heroes on the Water. I know there's a bunch of other outfits out there that support veterans and that kind of thing.
I mean, I'll be honest, I've never fished with any of those outfits yet. And I'm a veteran, and I'm, like I said, I don't mind saying that. I'm a veteran on a mission to catch fish in every state. But I also don't use my veteran status to maybe gain access or anything like that. So, but I'll tell you this, fishing, the peacefulness of it just changed my life. And I didn't see combat, but I saw some stressful things, and it changes your entire demeanor when you can get out on the water. And so those organizations, they're not just making it up, right? They're not just asking for money or for time or for whatever because veterans like to fish, like we do, but it's really tough sometimes to disconnect and turn off the noise as a veteran. Like, you really have to purposefully get out away and reconnect with a God and nature that was never part of your military life, right? The military life is devoted to destruction, and that's what you learn to do. And even if you don't do it, that's the skill you learn and the mindset you're in.
It's
And
still
so
programmed into you. Yeah.
it's absolutely programmed. And what the military does is they program you, they use you up, and then they send you out, but they never deprogram you, right? So you have to deprogram yourself. And so if there's any veteran out there, whether they can get in with those organizations or give me a call, or you're close to Ohio or whatever, get in with somebody and go out and enjoy the world, go out and enjoy the nation that you swore to protect, right? Because it's oh man, fishing, if you can get out and just be quiet and peaceful and have some time, it's a connection, and you'll feel it, and you'll just want more of it, so yeah. Maybe someday I'll fish with one of those groups. I'm kind of self-funded right now, so I don't really, I'm not taking any money or taking any their trips, especially for guys that already have like PTSD or lost a limb or something. But I'm not going to take their spot in a boat,
Right. No, and like I can definitely echo that kind of sentiment too. Like I've volunteered at quite a few events now since I gotten started with them, and to see the difference from when a person rows out, when they first head out to when they come back, it's like almost like a different person came back, and even if it's just for a short period of time, that break that you get, or you get to basically turn off that heightened sense that you're carrying around with you, that's got to be exhausting, and just to see that weight lifted off of people for even the shortest amount of time, is what keeps me going back and, volunteering, because you can tell it really does make a difference. I mean,
it really, really does. And that's why I do it. I mean, I kind of discovered all this like right after my deployment, the nature and outdoors. I didn't do those things before I joined the Army. So I'm learning it all. It's all new after that, So those organizations didn't exist at the time. I didn't know anything about them, So
right.
I'm so glad that the veterans have those things now.
Right.
And it's tough. And that's why I like being on the water with JP. Like, he's Chicago Fire Department. Like, he's probably had a more stressful life than me, because he's been doing that for 20 years, I think. So it's
just listening to what JP deals with day in and day out, the amount of calls he goes on, the type of calls he goes on, what he sees on a daily basis. It's like, so far removed from me being an IT person who just fixes computers every day, to someone who sees the struggles of human life on a regular basis. Just my hats off to him and all the other first responders out there, because it definitely takes a special kind of person, and they get put through a lot, and the fact that they are as sane as they are is impressive. So, because it's definitely a challenge and can wear on you for sure. So, I think, definitely taking the chance to relax when you can. Heroes on the Water's motto is paddle, fish, heal. And I really think that's exactly what it is. If you can, and it doesn't have to be, an organized outfit like that. I mean, they're there for a reason, but if you can find, just somebody to go out with and just have a, relaxing day on the water. If you're in Pennsylvania, South Central, just hit me up. I got an extra kayak. I'd be happy to take you out for a stroll sometime and, see what fish we can find. But, yeah, for sure. And I know, Jeff, the card you gave me has a lot of your information. I'll definitely have you go over that here as we kind of wind down, and we'll put it in the show notes as well. Because I think, there's definitely resources out there for you if you are struggling and you're just looking for, some way to get out of that cycle and just find some peace.
Yeah, and I would just tell people, like, it's okay to be not okay. And that's why, like, I made up those silly little cards. Like, it's not really business cards. I don't have a business. I'm not selling anything, but I made up the cards and put my name and number, and if somebody needs to talk, like, and I made them out of plastic so they'd go in a tackle box and not get ruined in the water. So
Yep.
I just hand them out and say, if you're in the area or you need to talk, call me. Because I'd rather somebody took the time to talk to me, right, when I was
Right.
suicidal, and if he hadn't been there, I might not be here. So
Right.
I'm all about it. So yeah, please share my contact information with people, and have them get a hold of me if they need to. So
For sure. They always say, you climbed the mountain and hopefully your story will help somebody who's just starting that climb, so
right.
you never know who you can help. So,
Yep.
yeah, definitely. If you are struggling, definitely please reach out, find somebody, definitely check out the links we'll put in the show notes. And, but just reach out. It's okay to ask for help. And that's what
Absolutely.
people are here for. So there's
Absolutely.
definitely people out there who care and want to see you get through everything. So,
Yes, sir.
cool. Well, we're kind of getting on near an hour here, so I wanted to give you a chance to shout out where people can find you, and any sponsors that if you have any sponsors or any companies that you'd like to just highlight. So
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, man. So I spend first of all, find me on Facebook, and if you got a fish in your profile picture, I'll accept it. So, um, and then put my contact information out there. But I spend, like, as far as social media goes, like, I've got a YouTube channel, but I don't know. I'm not, like, into self promotion or anything because I'm not trying to sell anything. I don't have any business or money associated with. I'm kind of self funded. Um, but I'm super blessed too. I got a great job with the Park Service, and anyway. But yeah, so I spend a lot of time on Instagram, and that's at fish the 50. So you can keep track of my adventures on there if you want. I put a lot of slow motion smallmouth bass releases on there. I was kind of in with the Go Fish Cam crew. They sent me a free one, and I was on their pro staff for a year or two, and I've learned how to put top water, and I got some pike video on there from my last trip to Ontario. I actually had a pike eat the Go Fish Cam. So I got yeah, so I really enjoy that. I'd give a shout out to the Raptor. I got their sweatshirt on here. Raptors
I
attack.
definitely want to try those. Yeah, those look awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and I got into it from that Boundary Waters trip. So it's just a lightweight, easy way to carry tackle, a lot of tackle on a small package. So I got in with them, and he's been great to me. I'm not really on pro staff. I just, like, we're friends, right?
Right.
I mean, he
Yep.
brought me on pro staff. He's the first person to do anything for me in the fishing world at all. And so I promote him, and he sends me stuff. So it's like, I don't know. I'm not even really on a deal with them. We just good people. I do have something I want to show you, and this is my next. This is my next goal. Can you see this box?
Oh yeah.
Bait sanity. So I just fished with this guy named Oliver Nye, which is a big swim bait guy from California, and Californians are a lot different than I am, but he, he turned me on to these swim baits. I met him actually I was working for Raptor Tackle at the Bassmaster Classic, and Oliver was there at the booth next to me. And anyway, so I got this bait sanity bait that I was catching fish on with him, and dude, these guys are great. So I think I'm going to need to reach out to these guys, because I don't really need sponsorships. I mean, unless somebody wants to pay me, I'll take it. But I just do kind of like partnerships and stuff. And
Right.
these guys are on my my radar right now, because these baits are great, man. They swim just under the surface, so it's almost kind of like a topwater bait, but it's man, the bass just crush it in the weeds. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, the taxpayers sponsor me at my national parks job, and not really. I mean, I don't know. I'm not to a place where I'd want to leave work and try to be sponsored or anything like that. But yeah, so that's about it. Go Fish Cam, Raptor, and then these guys here, the Bait Sanity folks, coming for you.
Cool. Well,
Yep.
like I said, we'll put all those guys down in the show notes. So if you guys want to check out those products, definitely hit the show notes below, and you can definitely check those out. So.
And Paddle and Fin. Did I say
Woo-hoo!
Paddle and Fin?
Yeah. No, it's awesome to have you as kind of part of our crew. So
I'm happy to be on board.
Yeah, so it means a lot to me that you took the time today to come on. It's great talking to you down at Dale Hollow, and getting to follow up here and hear a little bit more of your story. So.
Yep. Well, I hope Paddle and Fin, we can, we'll do this event next year. Put the dates out there now so people can be marking down their calendars for next year, and maybe we'll get another event or two around and try to get people together. That's what it's about, man. That's what kayak bass fishing is about, like actually getting together with actual people.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. That's where you really feel the camaraderie and the brotherhood that makes our sport so special, I think. So
that's right. Yep.
All right, man. Well, Jeff, thanks again so much for coming on. I definitely look forward to following along your quest for the Fish the 50. Try and keep the folks updated here on the channel as you progress through that. I'll try and highlight you every now and then, let them know where you're at and how you're doing with that. And when you get closer or when you finish it, definitely will have you back on and let you rehash the other crazy stories that I'm sure you'll have by then.
Yeah.
So.
Lots of money and lost tackle. That's lost and broken tackle.
Believe me, after losing Brian's rod, I feel you, man. I felt so silly. I was like,
dude, I lost my father-in-law's rod in Rio one time. St. Croix rod and a Fluger reel on it, and that one had to go in the pocket for that one. But you live and learn, right?
Absolutely, it happens. It's part of fishing, so I wouldn't trade it for the whole of the experience for 1 second. So,
yep.
All right, Jeff. Well, thanks again, guys. Thank you for listening today on the show. Hope you found something to take away from today's show that's meaningful to you. And as always, keep listening to the Bass Fishing for Noobs segment, where we bring you the techniques, the tricks, and the tips to help you rip more lips. So hang tight, Jeff. I'll run over a few things as we close out here, but we'll catch you all on the flip side. All right, thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode here on Paddle and Fin. Be sure to drop a 5-star rating, a thumbs up, or smash that subscribe button on any platform you're listening in on. Be sure to check us out on Waypoint TV, waypointtv.com. Make sure you sign up for the Fantasy Kayak Fishing League at paddleandfin.com/fantasy. You could support this show through Patreon, patreon.com/paddleandfin. Don't forget to check out the website, paddleandfin.com. Catch us on YouTube. If you got a question, comment, or want to see a future guest on the show, be sure to email us at paddleandfin@gmail.com. Shout out to our show supporters, Yak Gadget. You can check out all the fine kayak accessories at yakgadget.com. Pelican Professional. For all your cases, coolers, and lighting needs, go to pelican.com. Rocktown Adventures, your Midwest premier paddle sports destination. Go to rocktownadventures.com. Eastport Marina, the beautiful destination on Dale Hollow Lake. If you're looking for lodging, kayaks, kayak accessories, or anything fishing related on the beautiful Dale Hollow Lake, go to eastport.info. And Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com and fill your tackle boxes today.